I hit record.
So should we wait or something?
No, let's go.
Okay, let's go. Hey, welcome to the Elephant Room. Welcome. How you doing? I'm L.A. This is
Mike, the Nomad, A.k.a. Mkab. But today, y'all could call me Boogie.
You're not a nomad today?
No, I'm Boogie today. I am Boogie.
Okay, welcome. It is so great to start talking again about Black Hypocrisy Part 2. We're fresh off the town hall. And man, I think we got some people upset. Not sure, but some people were in their feelings. But it's good. It's good to talk about these things and not keep it inside.
Yeah.
And welcome, Shannon. Welcome, Dre. Kinte, our fearless engineer with the best poker face in the game.
Hey.
Best poker face in the game.
We want to continue the conversation because essentially there were a lot of things that were coming up. We touched on some topics and we realized that there are elephants within elephants in our community. Mm-hmm. So when we talked about the Monique effect, which we'll get to in a second, there was a lot of talk about coons and talking the truth and respectability politics. And I think I wanted to pick up where we left off in regards to that. But at the same time, I wanted to just kind of do a review. And so if Kinte can hit the next slide, maybe the next couple of slides, we can kind of do a review. Not that one. Although I would like to acknowledge the indigenous land that I live on. Here we are. This was a Super Bowl situation. And did you want to play what she was all about? If you click it, Kinte, Miss Jessie Wu will say what she said about the Super Bowl, which kind of plays into the...
Sister, happy Super Bowl Sunday. You know, it's Super Bowl Sunday, and I just can't help but ask myself a question, or ask all of ourselves a question. Where would we be if our ancestors were as fickle as we are? I thought we were boycotting the NFL. Like, I thought the Super Bowl was canceled. I thought the NFL was canceled. Yet here we are. You know, the NFL places the Super Bowl in Atlanta, the Wakanda of the United States. And I'm seeing all of us who were supposed to be standing with Cap, attending every event that promotes an organization.
Oh, shit.
That's all right.
All of us who were supposed to be standing with Cap, attending every event that promotes an organization that oppresses Black players amidst the most terrible social issue climate of our lives. But here we are, celebrating.
Okay.
Where would we be if our ancestors were as fickle as we are?
And now if you go a couple of slides in and we get to where it shows Monique, so you might have to click, I don't know, 4, maybe 6 times. Oh, there she is. You just went right to her. Perfect. Now if you play both of those, we'll be able to start to formulate what it is that we want to talk about in regards to Black women not mattering, cooning, the truth, a whole bunch of things is what this will lead into. So go ahead, Kinte.
As we try to come through this, because what I want really is for you to come through, because I know who you really are. And so what I want you to do is come through this with a different way. Because you, Monique, you my girl. I love you like a sister. I hate what's happening to you. I hate what they're saying that's not true. I want them to know that you are caring, that you're a great mother, that you're an incredible talent. I don't like the fact that you've been blackballed. You can be unblackballed. You too talented to have to worry about all this where the next one coming from. I want this to end for you. Well, I want it to end for you, Monique, because I love you. Because these people are doing it the wrong way, and you better than that. You are better than that.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay, click one more time.
You are better than that.
I've done nothing wrong. When you tell the truth, you have to deal with the repercussions of the truth. We Black out here. We can't come out here and do this any kind of way we want to. Listen to me. Your husband can't be the Sydney that he really is out here.
Let me tell you something.
That flexing, we got to flex a different way. We out here in a game. This the money game. This ain't the black man's game. This ain't the white man's game.
It's
This
the
is the
money
money
game.
game.
But I'm
We
gonna
in the
tell you
money
something.
game. And
We're
you
in the money
cannot
game.
sacrifice yourself. The
We
best
are.
thing you can do for
This
poor
is why I
people is
love my
not be one
brother.
of them. You cannot
We're in
help
the money
them
game,
all.
but let me tell you what the game is
Cannot
before the
help
money
them
game.
like this.
Before the money game, it's called the integrity game. And we've lost the integrity worrying about the money.
But Mo,
And wait a minute.
if
wait
I
a minute.
crumble,
if you
my
crumble,
children crumble, my grandchildren crumble. I cannot, for the sake of my integrity, stand up here and let everybody that's counting on me crumble so I can make a statement. There are ways to win the war in a different way. We got more.
Ways to win the war. What's coming up for you, Shannon? That face is saying so much.
In the money game.
It's the money game. This ain't the integrity game. This is the money game.
I think there's so many layers. I mean, we get what we saw, but there's so many conversations that were probably had around them with being photographed or videotaped, or even the silence in the midst of her being treated the way she was treated, being blackballed. So I don't feel a whole lot about that situation specifically, because I think sometimes look, he's looking like what she's about to say. Don't do me like that, Dre.
Not you, Steve Harvey.
I think what you said at the very beginning, LA, is probably what I feel. And I can only speak for myself. I just feel like we are the most disrespected in the game of anything, whether it's entertainment, whether it's just society. Like, black women always get the short stick. Now, don't get me wrong. Somebody could be quick to jump in and say, well, it's all women. Try that small fry on somebody else. That's not what I'm
But I think
talking
black
about.
people in general get the short end of this thing. It's not just black women. Black.
That's not what I'm talking about.
Okay, so what you just did is the equivalent of all lives matter versus Black Lives Matter.
No,
That's
it ain't.
not what I'm talking about.
No, that it's kind of what you just did there. Because
No.
what we're talking about is what happens to black women in particular and in a
Thank
very
you.
specific way.
Yeah.
That's not to say that there isn't a very specific way that black men are also disenfranchised or have their own set of problems where in some places they are more disenfranchised than other people.
Yeah.
But in a very particular way, black women are kind of, they're the doormats of society.
Don't keep quiet, Kente. This is why we have these conversations, and I'm not trying to hijack the Elephant Room TV.
It's okay to have a different opinion, Kente.
We talk about this all the time.
Maybe there's something that I can learn from you, but you don't have to be, quiet about it. There's an elephant where as soon as a woman says something, the man stays quiet.
Is it like, well?
And that's
Wait,
that's not going to help anything.
But now I was thinking that, and if I can take what you said,
What
Ellie,
I said?
and what you just said, and
Yeah.
relate it to Steve Harvey and Monique.
Okay,
But
go ahead.
Monique's big argument from the very beginning was that she should not be paid less than everybody else when she's producing the same amount of numbers, the same amount of people watching her shows, like her Netflix shows, which is right. Steve Harvey said it's the money game, and we all know that black people. Let me finish. Black people in general get paid less than whites. Black females get paid even less than black males. So she's like, yo, I want to be able to get money-wise exactly what I'm supposed to get, exactly what you get. So let's compare her and Steve Harvey. Steve Harvey said it's the money game. He's saying you have to play the money game. Pretty much, he's telling her, yes, for you to be successful in this business, you got to accept what they're willing to give you as a woman, as a black woman. You should not be arguing and trying to come up. Stay where you are, stay in your lane, take whatever crumbs they give you as a black woman, and play that money game. And it's wrong. It's dead wrong. I had my feelings for a couple of years now about Steve Harvey. And after I watched this, I was like, I'm done with him, because what he should have said was, you know what, Monique, you're right. You should be paid just as much as I am paid. Because remember, a couple of years ago, she had a very successful night show on BET. And the ratings were crazy. Yeah. And she still didn't get no love. And it's because I don't know, like Monique deserves to be have accolades thrown at her because she's an amazing talent, and she's able to produce just as much as Steve Harvey could produce or any other big time comedian. But I think he missed the point. And when he told her you should play the money game, he pretty much told her stay in your lane and just play the game. And then when he said, you know, it's not an integrity game, it's a money game, I was like, yo, like imagine if Martin Luther King said that. What if Johnson went to Martin Luther King and was like, listen, if you shut your mouth, I will give you from the government's dime $1 million per year just to shut your mouth. Do you think this man would have took that money? Come on, like it's we've come a long way, and for the love of money, I'm sorry, I know I went off on a rant. I just it upset me when I saw that interview and he was cutting her off. I was like, yo, I'm just,
we coined that mansplaining.
yeah.
At U of T. I just want to acknowledge the wrench. I don't know what the name is of the wrench. Is that a wrench?
I guess so. The fixer.
Fixer upper. Anyway, if you could.
It says, doesn't the same divide exist in willingness of men versus women to negotiate for a higher salary? This division is well documented in the Caucasian population.
Yeah. So if you look at somebody like what's her name, Silverman or Amy Schumer, are they getting the same amount as like a Seinfeld, or maybe not a Seinfeld because he's been around for a while, but are those comedians paid equally?
I think, yeah, like it's because of patriarchy, right? Like you have to look at like the system that you live in is
no. I mean,
no. What's up?
I agree. They
don't get paid enough. They don't get paid the same.
I think that's what white women are fighting for.
Yeah,
that was a big thing that they're
there
fighting for is pay equity, right?
I mean, but there's also that argument about black women actresses versus white women actresses and how the white women actresses are always getting cast in everything across Hollywood and black women get those stereotypical roles. So then they have to become their own executive producers and their own this and that so that they can create the roles so that we can see representation across the board. The society is meant to divide. There's just no one way around it. This world doesn't seem to work in the minds of most people unless it's divided. And it really ain't working, but it's thrived off of division for so long.
Well, I think the elephant that I'm seeing here is that we seem to be striving for inclusion, but really though, like the different groups that are trying to include themselves in whatever the melting pot this is don't really know themselves or their roles, like quote unquote, because it's like there seems to be this divide already, like this totem pole already of so white heterosexual males on top, and then like everybody else, I guess what white females, like everybody else, you know, follow through. Now with this order being there, like the word of the day of the era, it seems to be, hey, let's all be inclusive. But the reason why there's like a fight against this inclusion is because a lot of people don't know themselves. Like we as a people, we lack our identity, and then within this lacking of identity, we have these divisions. Whereas, like for example, as we started off, so like black women are never heard. Or basically like nobody cares about black women, and then us like most black men is like we get silenced a lot, and so we are basically we're lacking our identity, and in the midst of that as well, we have this divide that's going on. So as we're having this turmoil, we're still striving towards inclusion, and I think that's like the biggest elephant here. Like, what are we trying to include ourselves in? Like what is it? And so that's the question that comes up for me. Like,
and if it seems, and it also sounds like if we're trying to include ourselves in what they already have established, then some of us, I hate to use that word, some of us who are willing to coon will accept anything that they're willing to give.
Boom.
So if we're trying to be included in what's already established, right, then we're going to try to get in where we fit in. And even though it's not where our value lies, just to be in it, we'll be like, okay, I'm in it. I'm good. And
Boom. And see, to kind of add to that point, today, L.A and I was having a conversation about Oprah. Like her being, I think, the first, she's the only Black female billionaire. And so for her to be in that space, there's certain politics that she got to play. And the optics of that on people that look like her, but doesn't necessarily have the same financial capabilities of fluency that she has, tend to view her in a different light. So people, I don't know if people might use the word cool. Nah, not like I personally, I would never classify Oprah as a coon. Like I've never witnessed that type of behavior from her. But I think much more so on a personality level, people might experience her differently because like in one of her Super Soul session conversations with either Michael B. Jordan or Devin Franklin, they make allusion to when they started off. So before people were basically asking for, let's say, $100, then it goes to $500, then $5,000. Like the amount just keeps increasing. So as they increase, there was a limit where they had to cut people off and say, hey, like I cannot keep feeding you here. Like you got to do your own thing. So with Oprah getting to that level of success financially, that is like that in itself, it creates this separation like amongst her own people, and there's this expectancy, like for example, from people like Monique in this situation here, where she might expect something from Oprah, like hey, like you are not doing nothing for me, and therefore call for this big public outcry to rally behind her. And what's the word you use? The Trinity. I
think it was Kente who had said the unholy trinity. The unholy trinity of Oprah,
Tyler, and Daniels.
And who?
And Lee Daniels.
No,
Tyler Perry.
Tyler Perry. There you go.
That was the unholy trinity.
But where does Tyler Perry fit in that though? Like, what Oscar-worthy movies has he produced? Like, why is he even in the?
I don't think so much Oscar-worthy. I think Tyler came on the scene where we needed somebody. It was like they needed we, as in Black people,
typecasted characters.
Yeah,
that made society looked at us like
those Black plastic characters. He's the only one employing them.
Right. But the point is that's what I'm saying. He came in on the scene when he was giving opportunities to just ordinary Black people, like regardless of where they came from, what they've been through, their situation, as long as they had some lick of talent, some voice, he was casting them. And that's what, I mean, not to say that all his movies are great, because I'm not saying that at all, but I am saying that because he made this opportunity available, I mean, not even just on movies, his production company, he employs Black people. Tons of them. So that engagement alone has solidified him in the hearts of many. It's the reality.
And that's true too.
Oprah, I mean, you let Oprah put a stamp on anything and anybody. Honey, listen, and I'm not a big Oprah fan, but
that's actually a big elephant right there too. Like almost kind of a bit to the point that we were talking about earlier. So Oprah, she's in that space of billionaires and everything, her and these other rich affluent Black people. So they are in that space. But part of the conversation, I think, was like the belonging aspect. I think you're talking about, and also how they have to act in a certain way to kind of maintain that status. Like,
Go ahead.
Like I think that's where like the problem lies. Like the fact that Oprah. If Oprah wanted to create, like as she's doing right now, her own channel, if Oprah, Tyler Perry, and Lee Daniels wanted to create a new venture where only Black people, like we had like our own media streams and everything, they could do that. They have the influence, they have the capital to actually start like our own strictly tailored like Black Hollywood, and like us build and support from there. But the mindset, like once we do get to these places of inclusion where we are included in the financial aspect of basically like white patriarchal society system and everything, what we tend to do is now we try to, I guess, conform to their ways. And a bit to what I think you're saying, Dre, how once we got into that space, now we basically want to include ourselves into the system that they have already, rather than kind of recreate our own system. And I think that's where like the biggest elephant is basically like lying now for us. And
But Oprah's a different category. I mean, you can't really look at a person who's in like the top 2%, because a conversation of billionaires looks different. The conversation of multimillionaires looks different than regular Joe Blows making 30, 40, 50K.
Mm-hmm.
What they talk about is drastically different. Now, don't get me wrong. They all sleep, and crap. Commonalities. But they are not talking about that at the table as billionaires. Let's just keep that real. And my experience as a nanny sitting around multimillionaires, which I am not, their conversations are just different. What they're talking, they don't seem to be concerned as much. Now, don't get me wrong. There are people with money who have stuff and are invested in where they come from. Because there's a difference. Because, of course, we know Oprah didn't come from money.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times when they have arrived in that circle, they aren't necessarily looking at what is still going on where they came from. Those aren't the conversations that they are necessarily having. That's my opinion. Now, there are some that do give back and give back in droves, but they also give outwardly to other countries. Oh, let me go to a school in Africa. Let me go build a school in this. Let me go do this in Egypt. Let me go do this in, you can go help people out.
Why are they doing that in the States? You know, those hip hop artists that are now building schools in Africa and doing work in Africa. Why aren't they doing it in the U.S.?
Well, go ahead. You guys go ahead.
Because I'm not sure what you're going to say, Boogie, but I think that soon there's going to be they're looking to build up African economies in hopes that people migrate back to Africa. So they're looking to improve the economy, improve the education system out in those countries, so that people that were forced out of their land could probably go back. And again, that's my assumption based on the conversations that I've been hearing and interviews with people like A.k.a. and others that are building schools out there. When I found out that little John was building schools in Africa, I was like, really? Like, yeah. Okay. Like I was,
what?
Is it called say something about Superman, about the school system in the U.S., about like the lottery for the charter school? I don't even know how this system works, but it just seems like the education system, especially for young Black people in the U.S., seems pretty dismal. And I'm just hard pressed to understand why, when you have the people there and you have money there, why there hasn't been more of an infiltration into the education system in the U.S. to support Black children from being educated. Import the teachers if you have to. We actually have one Black school here in Toronto where kids can go for elementary school. They can go to a Black school and have an African-centered curriculum. So I just wonder why more people aren't. Is it just something that's not allowed, or I don't know how it's blocked?
I mean, we the people can make anything happen. It's gotta be a voice. It's gotta be a vision. It's gotta be proper execution. We got a teacher right here on the panel. Now, I want to be a teacher, like seriously. However, they get paid pennies.
But this is what I mean. Why aren't they?
But the issue is us. We the people. Yeah. We are promoting football players, basketball players, tennis players, and yada, 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 yada. And as soon as they want to stand up and say, I want more money, they stop everything they doing. They ain't showing up. They not practicing. They not playing. They not performing. And we like, oh, look, throw them a couple of more million. Now, if we had
the structure has to be different.
Now, if we had teachers that we could back, because that's what they need. They need our support to back them up and say, hey, if you want to stop teaching my bad kids until you get better pay, I'm going to stand on the front lines with you until you get better pay. They are the reason why our children go on to be basketball players and football players. And it ain't right.
I could, this is a whole different show because I have a lot to say about this.
I know you do.
And it actually could go into the Black hypocrisy also.
It definitely is Black hypocrisy.
Yeah. So, and it's a deeper conversation because we look at teachers, and yes, Some teachers in certain districts get paid very little. I work in a school district that don't pay their teachers little. In fact, they pay teachers in New York City a great amount. So like, I'm not one to complain about what I'm getting paid right now. And it's going to go up continually throughout the years. The trouble that many teachers have, especially in Black communities, is that you have parents that would show up to practice, to the kids' football practices and basketball practices 10 minutes, 15 minutes, a half an hour early so that their kids can work out to improve in their athletic skills. But they're late every day to school, you know, and that's going to improve their academics. So it's a deeper conversation to have. Teachers get a lot of blame and also a lot of support. People are talking about how teachers don't get paid enough. All right. But then some people are talking about how teachers aren't producing passing test scores for students. And then those same people will say we should not be assessing students according to tests. But then those same people would say we need to be checking out test scores to see if these teachers are effective. It's a deep,
there's no consistency. And it sounds like, Shannon, it also sounded like, I don't know if you were inferring this, but it sounded like you were almost saying that the parents are looking for the parents to raise the kids.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of problems. I mean, don't get me wrong. I grew up with a mentality that it takes a village.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not old by any means, but we truly believed in that. The lady down the street used to watch us until my mom got home from school. Mm-hmm. And trust me, if I did anything wrong, half down the block, I probably got a whoop by all of them before I got home. So for me, it's like we have lost that community. Now it's like ain't nobody checking for anybody. You have to know your neighbors. You know, that's your bad bleep bleep kid. I don't want nothing to do with it. I'm shutting my doors, but I'm gonna peek out my blinds while you instead of being the voice, being the change. And of course, that's the flip side to that. You know, you won't get shot at either because people unfortunately have no respectability in that part. There are just so many layers. But again, that goes back to the original conversation of the division. We are meant to be kept divided because if we tapped into our power, if we tapped into our unity, if we tapped into our sense of community and our responsibility of self, and we built bridges instead of burned them amongst ourselves, we would be so far more valuable and powerful to each other. There would be no, oh, my child is going to come to school 15, 30, 45 minutes early for practice. No, my son ain't going to practice if he ain't got passing grades. Oh, you disrespected Mr. Harrison today? I'm going to disrespect that behind right now. Then we're going to have a conversation because it won't happen again. I grew up with teachers would be like, oh, I'm calling your mom. Them kids would be stuttering because you know your mama, first of all, would have to take off work because your mama wasn't going to wait till you got home. She was going to call up there, find out you was acting a fool, show up at the school. And some of those people got their butt whooped in the bathroom. Mm-hmm. This was up through high school. Yeah. So we have a culture deficiency. We have accepted so many things with social media, trying to be our and especially my generation, people I grew up with and younger are trying to be friends with their kids instead of being parents to their kids. My mama always said, I can be your friend after you grown. Right now, I need to raise you up into a functional, law-abiding adult. Right. We can be friends later.
That's interesting, though.
I still know my role. I know my mama knocked me into next year. So there is a level of understanding and respect and culture, respectability that just doesn't happen and exist across the board.
That's interesting because like on the flip side as well, Shannon, this is like the other side of the conversation as well. In, I guess, not being friends with our children as well, it could cause a lot of these mental health issues that we're experiencing. Because then you have a lot of people where I think in our community we're not aware of the traumas that people are basically going through, like the issues that they deal with, maybe because in the way that we may manifest that discipline. I mean, this is like from my opinion, because now that we're in this era of hash out your feelings and like talk how you're feeling, I'm seeing that the way that I guess we're programmed to be, like, if you're disciplining a child, even like the slightest of things, they may take it as if like, you are just like saying the most horrific thing to them and like you're disrupting like the whole world and everything. And so it's like, I'm trying to find like the medium ground. Like where's that middle ground?
We come from so many different extremes, Boogie. We grew up, at least I did, we grew up in a culture where it wasn't safe to share your feelings, or what happened at home stayed at home. Now we're in I need to tell everything. This is how I feel. This is what's going on, even if it's not necessarily in the right space. Just because you feel like you need to share it does not mean this is a safe space to share it. You know, a lot of times kids post stuff on social media. That's why you got kids showing pictures of other kids committing suicide on social media. They never have that room and space and breadth and scope to have a conversation with somebody in a safe space. So going to see a counselor. I saw a counselor when something happened to me traumatic in school, and my mom was like, well, why didn't you tell me first? Well, I thought you was going to whip my butt. I knew she wasn't going to whip me. There was the difference. But I had a safe space to share how I felt, what I was going through, what I was experiencing. That's not necessarily the culture of the generation we're raising. They want to share all their feelings from one extreme to the next on social media, in a Snapchat, on Instagram, via a picture, and then mimic what they see.
They get that from adults too. How many people, like, you know, friends that put up subliminal messages on Facebook, airing out there, you know, laundry on Facebook,
social media, for sure. Absolutely. You know, it is, but they've created even a bigger culture. Like, we didn't grow up with no Snapchat. Like, when I was a nanny, all the stuff that came out, the Vines, do it for the Vines, Snapchat this, Snapchat that, Instagram. Like, I was just getting into that culture. That was only 4 years ago. And so for me, it was like, people actually do this? Like, y'all be arguing with people you don't even know on social media because what, they didn't like your picture?
Yeah.
Yes. So that speaks to the larger issue of where we get our sense of wholeness, you know, and how are we transferring that, and how are we recognizing it across generations? Because just because I'm older doesn't mean that I don't need my own sense of validation. So if I'm feeling that and my sons are feeling that, then how do we learn to speak to one another so that we can, you know, all heal from that situation?
You asked that question before, L.A., and I think that you have to keep asking that question. Because you had asked in a podcast maybe a month or two ago, I'm not for sure.
The first show.
How do you, and we were talking about skin color. I think we're talking about differences in how you can be this confident or this way or the other. You have to speak life into people. And that starts at home. One of my dearest friends, her daughter was struggling with her complexion and saying, well, she didn't think she was pretty enough. And she broke it down to her daughter. She's like, first of all, let's stand you in front of a mirror. Let's look at who you are. Let's start speaking life into who you are. You are a beautiful child. And, you know, speaking truth to her in terms of what she said, the scripture said about her being fearfully and wonderfully made. We have to be creative and consciously aware and do it on purpose. To ourselves, to our children, so that we don't let people discount us on social media, or we don't let people discount us via a post. And then we take everything personal. When they talking about their ex, you think they talking about you. First of all, get out. Know your self-worth and your self-value. And don't let nobody else put you in the discount bin, because you're not that.
And see, that's an interesting point too. Because like in a sense, I see that Monique, what she like, so to kind of bring it back then, tie it together, what Monique was doing is she's hashing out her feelings. And in a sense, I felt like Steve Harvey, in like a bit of his approach was almost as if, don't basically like, you know, like don't show how you're feeling or how you're basically like receiving it, because you are black and you have to basically like you can't be black out here. You got to basically survive. So now, like for me, like I kind of bring it back to the main topic, where it's like survival versus cooning. Like where's like that middle ground where it's like a person is cooning and when is it surviving? Because there's like,
and let's not get it twisted. I think we all agree that Steve Harvey was cooning and that he has been.
Oh, I think so, yeah.
Right? We help understand that. However, this is a really good opportunity to talk about the people that are not cooning, that are just actually just trying to navigate or survive in the system. Because if I lose my job, my kids aren't going to be in the same position as Steve Harvey's kids, right? If he stops making specials, I think they're going to be all right. Whereas keep grinding to make sure that my kids actually eat. So, you know what I mean? I just want to acknowledge Imani, A.k.a. Manetta, in the room. And I wanted to touch on some of the comments that were mentioned earlier as well, because we're just going off having our own conversation. Sorry. No, it's good. Was it there?
I think so.
Okay, go ahead. Oh, man. Who wants to come in? Someone's coming in? Okay, let's just read this comment here.
So it says, hold up.
Come in, Manetta. Just grab the spot. The person said...
Hold up, we're just scrolling up real quick.
What did they say? They said...
No, a bit
higher?
Up. Yeah. And I think, keep going.
Keep going. Oh my God, I don't think we're ever going to get to it. Because people stop commenting for a second. We're like, just trying to scroll and it keeps going. Oh man.
It's all good.
You guys are killing us.
That's hilarious.
One that said that he thought that...
Wait. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Says there's a degree of short-term prestige in charitable works in any foreign country, whereas charitable works within the United States...
Okay. I can't. I don't know. So every time we type, we lose what somebody had said. But what is that? Yeah, where's the person? Who was that said that? The Rent said something really important. I think you might be grabbing the spot. So if you want to come back in, Dre, you're welcome.
Low performing for military, because that's what I responded to.
Okay, go ahead.
He said it was a crazy idea that those who have minimal performance within schools have mandatory military time.
That's it.
That's what I responded to, because I said that unfortunately puts a lot of people at disadvantage. And a lot of those faces that going to be going to the military going to look like me.
Yeah.
And I don't want no low performing nobody on the front lines of our military. I'm just going to be honest. I don't care what they look like. One, because we don't need to send that many body bags home to their parents. And two, because we don't need that many unaware people with guns. We already got that right now in our community. So I'm not for that. There are other solutions. Now don't get me wrong. If that were put on the table, you might get a little act right, marginal, small percentage. But there's gotta be other solutions than just that.
Yeah. The same person said there's a degree of short-term prestige in charitable works in any foreign country, whereas charitable works within the U.S. is a tactic acknowledgement of failure in the U.S. Is that what he said?
I think so, yeah. I wonder what they mean by that.
I think that was brought up when we were talking about why all the artists go to Africa to build there, and they don't build when there's so much deficit right where we live.
A whole lot of politics here.
And even that, though, I mean, like an example of that is just recently, like L.A, you're supposed to have a talk, right, on Thursday.
Oh, yeah, on spirituality.
And so, like, the thing about that is, like, in the ad for that talk, the students, they had, like, the people that are organizing it, they put it as a Black-only event. And so with that statement, basically the event got shut down.
Yeah.
Like, so it's like that in itself is almost to say that within the United States of North America, the way that the society is built, if you try to have Black-only spaces, I don't think you could actually announce it. Hey, I'm trying to basically like have a Black-only space or like whatever it is. You have to do it in some kind of like, you know, disguise or whatever. You can't just do stuff like that. So like on a much more deeper level, if people started creating charities over here with schools like that's tailored solely towards our education, I think the way the system is set up, it's set up to disrupt that, to cut that down. And so I think that's probably the reason why most people, like, to kind of add to Dre's point, want to build in Africa. So, you know, it's almost like a place where it's the new place to be, to start like venturing out, where you could kind of build and create your own narrative out there. Because over here, like, there's no space for like the two narratives that's going on. There's already a narrative here that's, you know, been well in place, and they don't want to change that. So I think that's probably why, like, they don't want to allow us, you know, nobody want to be in.
Okay, so I just want to bring it back to, on the slide, it says, nobody cares about Black women. Mm-hmm. And at the very top of the show, there was an idea that we believed that Black women were the most disenfranchised, or the most oppressed, I guess, in society's eye. Okay. And then there was the idea that all Black people, it's not just Black women, right? Mm-hmm. And I feel like that, I think that there is obviously an elephant there between Black men and Black women and our experiences that cuts really deep, because I think that there's a lot more support amongst Black women, and that Black men don't have an outlet.
A lot of support among Black women and for Black women.
Mm-hmm. And for Black women, whereas Black men often have to bear that pain internally. They can't really emote it. And so we start playing these oppression Olympics with one another to say, oh, my pain is worse than your pain, and all of those things. So I just want to explain that for Black women, while they have support, I just feel like they are really treated as if they don't matter in society. And that's not to take away the experience of Black men. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that even though we have those things happening to Black women, we can go and create, sisterhoods that will help us through that. And there are some Black male groups that can create that brotherhood also. But I would say on a whole that I don't think Black men have that sense of support. So in that way, the experience of being oppressed in the way that Black women are, can't be feminist without men.
Can be a feminist without men,
yeah. I'm not a feminist.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think that there's a problem there that we need to look at. And it goes back to a couple of weeks ago when I was talking about being able to speak from our place of shame. And how do we do that? And why would we make the other person try to feel ashamed because of the way that they think? I don't like when people shut down and just check out, when the point of the conversation is to have the conversation. And then something happens inside of us and we're like, I'm out. I gotta go. Peace.
But sometimes we have to reprogram ourselves, L.A.
What's that?
I said sometimes we have to reprogram ourselves. And I've gotten intentional in my thought process. And I'm going to use Kente as an example because he said he was quiet. Have conversations. I can tell he gets frustrated because he'll be saying something and I'll be like, but wait a minute. And he'll be like, see, you're not even listening. And I think a lot of times that is our problem. We don't listen to understand. We don't listen to empathize or to hear somebody out. We listen to join in
or defend.
To defend. To top up, or to one up and say, oh, this is my situation and it's bigger than yours and you'll be all right. And so, but I usually interrupt him because he'd be talking about women and I'm like, but you ain't no woman. So I'll be like,
we also have blind spots, right? A lot of us have our blind spots, and while we may be down for the goal, we all want to get to the goal. We don't understand what we can't see. Right?
Absolutely. So I acknowledge that I know I do it. I do. And I probably do it more so with him because he be trying to tell me stuff and I'll be like, nah, I ain't trying to hear that, bro. But I think we do that often more so than not. So actually just sit and listen and receive, because it's not necessarily for you to have a I don't try to lie. So you call him now? Look, don't do that. Don't tell nobody about this.
We also had a really long conversation about whether or not to continue the elephant room, actually. Because we have this conversation. You two seem shocked, but
look great. I'm sitting here like, well, we'll help you run it because y'all not going nowhere.
There's a lot of go ahead.
Oh no, it's I mean, sometimes when you're doing work and in the community. And I think the expectation, because we also do a lot of introspection ourselves as well. The expectation is that the people whom like you're doing it for, the people that are closest to you,
will support you.
Will basically provide a certain level of support. So it's like that's something. So those are like the unspokens of expectations that we tend to have, and it does become a bit hard when you're looking towards, I guess, your closest circle or the folks that are around you to sustain you, especially when you're starting off, or to build community. And so when we keep talking about Black businesses and it's like us creating and maintaining, there's this elephant, there's this fine line where when you keep pouring and it's not being, I guess, reciprocated, it gets a bit harder.
It's exhausting to, if you were caring for somebody and you were always caring and that person never even said, thank you or whatnot. Like, obviously we're not talking to the people here because you guys are always here and supporting us. But between the two of us, we at least know 2 or 3 people that you would think would want to be in here every Sunday with us, but they're not. My family has never logged in. You know what I mean? So how, and then when we think about that, when we expand outwards to like community now, and then like the larger global society, it's not surprising that Black businesses suffer because we just don't, I don't know, there's just not a follow through. And then having these conversations is not necessarily what people love to do. We don't want people pointing stuff out to them, right?
And also, I mean, it's saying that the introspection aspect of it too is that we then realized, see, now like I kind of tied into when I hear nobody cares about Black women, and now I was like, I'm gonna kind of use this as that analogy. One thing I'm realizing is that there are people, for example, like you guys are actually showing that support, and you guys are kind of sustaining, and like the people that we don't know from the outside that are actually sustaining this work that we're doing. And so for me, when I do hear a statement like nobody cares about Black people, as a man that actually do like
Black
care,
women?
Yeah, Black women, I'm sorry, like to make it more specific, a man that actually do care about like my Black sisters, like Black women and everything. When you do show up and I guess you showing up, it gets dismissed in a sense, because that in itself is where the elephant, because there are people that might show up for you, but it may be the people that you're not expecting. So for us, like in having that talk, I think the introspection aspect that came in was like, no, we actually have a community outside of the people that we do know that is actually supporting this movement that we've created.
But you gotta look at what Kente said, and I will use an example that I've used since 2008. So he said it takes a long while to build a base, which it absolutely does. So hats off to Kente for putting in all the work and then encouraging us all to come along for the journey.
I think it's more than the base part.
But for me, look, this is what I'm saying. What you're just saying about you getting discouraged. When I wrote my first book, I didn't do that good. Look, in me by numbers and dollars, I'm still not doing that great. But I asked myself one question, and this is why I still do what I do. Mm-hmm. If nobody ever bought a book, ever, would I still be passionate about the work? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. I believe in poetry. I believe in the way words marry well together. I believe in how they make people feel.
But do you believe in those things at your own detriment? Like if it was emotionally draining for you, how would you barter? It is emotionally draining,
LA, because a lot of times I'm using my emotions to write the words. Mm-hmm. But I also find therapy in that. Exactly. Because there is a reckoning when you have to go face to face with something you believe in, because it allows things to flow through and flow to you. Because sometimes I've said things not knowing that somebody was paying attention to me working myself out through my words. But everything that matters, that it has some value, I just wanted to reach somebody, not millions, not hundreds of thousands, someone. Your work is going to it's going to take time, but it will have that ripple effect. I believe.
Yeah, go ahead.
But I could be wrong. It sounds like what you're doing is not saying that this here isn't working. I think you're saying that the support isn't there, and there's a way for you to utilize the energy somewhere else.
No, that's not what I'm saying. We're talking about our personal networks. We're not talking about, but that's one part of what we're saying. The second part of what we're saying is that what we want to talk about on the show. There's this idea in our minds of how it's going to start to facilitate a conversation that can actually strive to heal our communities, which is the point of what we're doing it for. But and I understand that there has to be a base to do that so that we can reach people, but we are reaching people. So we are doing that, and maybe we're healing amongst ourselves. However, when like there's a lot of pressure to produce something, and then when somebody catches feelings, and then I find that there's a lot of cyber abusing that happens on here on this platform. This I don't remember the show it was, but it was during the 24-hour thing where this white man just came for me, right? And nobody said anything. And so when I talk about, I'm scrolling through social media and I see Black women being grabbed. I see a whole bunch of Black women being punched. I go to work and I have no voice at work. I'm having this internal and external experience that's happening while I'm trying to help my own community overcome the very thing that I'm experiencing. So I see this as a platform for us to all, almost like a support group of sorts. But then again, the elephant in the room is that we beat up on each other sometimes more than anybody else.
Yeah.
Keenan wants to say some Black people think they're too good for Black people to attain their success.
For real.
Is that true? What do you think, Ray?
That some Black people think they're too good for Black people to attain their success. Again, it goes back to trying to fit in. So yeah, they may think that, and it's only because they're looking at themselves now that they're in now. And although it's not up where everybody else is, the higher ups, I'll say, they're in, and they're looking at Black people that have not made it there. Like, okay, yeah, they're not as good as I am, and they probably will never get here. And because I'm here, I'm not going to try to bring other people up. I'm just going to bask in the presence of who I'm around.
So you can go ahead. Keenan wants to say. Yeah. Is the second part, but wants to affect Black culture. So Black people, if I read correctly, some Black people think they are too good for Black people to attain for their success, but want to affect Black culture. Shake my head. That was the follow-up. Is that correct, Keenan? Hopefully I
Keenan, do you want to get in?
I can step out.
And that's the thing that I'm realizing for myself too, because the more and more we're on this journey. So I think it's just to stay the course, because that's why it's a comment like Steve Harvey's, to kind of bring it back there. It becomes very detrimental, because I think revolution or change, there's a lot of up and downs within that. So when you give up, or you quote unquote you try to just survive, what that does is that it impedes and it stops that process. I think that for us, we're very blessed. So basically to have friends, to be friends, and to have other friends as well, a good community that we are able to tap into and keep going. Now, when you hear a comment about hey, I'm just trying to survive, just hush, don't basically do anything, it doesn't allow room for this kind of discourse where we are basically now I feel this is something kind of that's revolutionary, and based on everything that that's been happening, and I find that the people that it's for are being basically reached. So when a lot of people speak about emancipation, Black emancipation, we talk about it, and we don't really live in the practicality of it. That's where hypocrisy really it comes in, the black hypocrisy. Like we talk about emancipation, what it should look like, but the practicality, that's where it comes in. And I think that's a bit what Keenan.
I think this is Keenan here.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a bit to what you're saying, talking about it, but not really being about it.
Right, and I mean, it's a lot to talk about. But I mean, on the Monique situation, like she feels like she's not entitled to attain the same things that other successful black comedians has got. But like, what are you really trying to really prove? Are you gonna come up with a message for black people to soak in something from you, or are you just gonna say the same ratchet Monique shit that we used to, you know? So I mean, you want this opportunity, but what are you gonna really do with it?
That's true. That is a point.
Yeah, what is she gonna do with it? But can I just point? Okay, I'm that girl. Okay, I'm that girl that will always point out the elephant in the room. So when you talk about Monique being ratchet, can you speak more to that? Like, what do I know? Yeah, I hear that she should have handled it in a better demeanor. I am assuming. How
I mean, is she gonna teach us a lesson? This ain't what is she gonna teach us about? Like, really, how to be a black woman these days? Or how to? I mean, she usually go off some ratchet shit like, you know, how to suck a dick, how to keep your man, fuck skinny bitches. You know what I mean? It's like
that's her comedy act, though, right?
That's her comedy, but that's her reality.
Okay, so her comedy is her reality. So when she handled the Netflix situation and wanted the more money, she approached it from her comedy / reality. Is that how she approached it? Because she talked about in another thing about how she went to the unholy trinity of Oprah, Lee Davis, and
Tyler?
Lee Daniels,
yeah,
and Tyler Perry, and that none of them came to her aid. And I'm thinking, like, I have a theory called symbolic proximity, where people will sometimes distance themselves when something hits the fan. So while
that's not what happened.
Yeah, because they don't want to be tied in with that. They don't want to be in the same company of somebody that's want to speak their reality or speak their truth, because they playing the corporate game. Like Steve Harvey was telling her, this ain't about integrity. It's about the money. So you dealing with people that's evaluating your numbers compared to Amy Schumer. It makes sense to give her a certain amount of money because she has the following. She has the influence. Monique, she doesn't. And if it is, it's in a different country. I don't know how to say that part, but
no, I hear
it's not the same. They gave her a valuation off her numbers, and that's the way that businesses run these days. So I don't know.
No, he's right on that point. You know, if they gauging it by her pay about gauging it with the numbers that she's producing, then yeah. Then they could have, I guess, spoke with her about future days, because I don't think she's ever done a Netflix special.
She's not seeing that point because she feel victimized. She feel like, oh, because I'm black, that's why I'm not getting. I want 20 million like Dave Chappelle. You know what I mean? It's like, no, you don't get. That's not how we work, Monique. That's not how we do this. You know what I mean? So
should she have been cooning then, so that she could have solidified her money? Is that
I ain't say cooning. She should have took the money and showed them, hey, I have support from my demographic. I got support. I can show you the numbers if it's produced through this network. But if you got so many people like that, if you want to take that route, she should have produced her own show and then showed them people like, look, I can do it. Can I get a $60 million check?
I think one of the big mistakes she made was she shouldn't have talked about what Chris Rock and Dave Chappelle got. I think that. Yeah,
but it's not even a male. It's not even a male-dominated thing like that. I'm not trying to say that she came at them like for that reason. It's just she should have showed and proved on the independent base to show them that she's worth what she's worth.
So what's the connection between the unholy trinity?
That's something different. You guys are getting that mixed up. That has nothing to do with the Netflix thing. That came later. The Netflix came way after the Unholy. That's a whole other issue. Basically, I'll sum it up. Was when she was doing her Oscar run for Precious, that they had asked her to go to Cannes Film Festival, and they weren't going to give her no extra money to promote the movie. And she said, "Well, I don't want to go to Cannes. I've been on this run for a while. I've done all my contractual obligations. So, I'm going to sit this one out unless there's some more money, and which every, actors have the right to do that. I mean, people do it all the time. So it's not like she was doing something that was beyond the pale. And they basically told her, you better get there and do this, and we're not going to give you no extra money and all of this. So she said, I'm not going to do that, which actors turn down stuff all the time. It's part of the business. And she's at a level where she could do that. And she was, so what happened was after she won the Oscar and all of this stuff, and she had a TV show, she started realizing that her offers weren't getting better. They were actually getting worse. And she wasn't getting any better material. And then she had a private conversation with Lee Daniels, where Lee Daniels told her that she was blackballed because of that part of the Cannes thing and all of that. So she tried to deal with it on a private basis to get back, to where she was at, and it just wasn't happening. So she went public with it, and it was.
So why did
she's your
they leave her out to
professional?
dry, you think?
Huh?
Go ahead.
Why would they have left her out to dry?
Because people are petty like that. They do it all the time.
Professional character. You don't carry your professionalism in your craft. People don't want to work with you.
But
you're a hard, tough cookie to deal with.
But to be honest with you, up until that, she never had a problem. To be honest with you, the people that we're talking about, Oprah, Tyler Perry, and Lee Daniels, are the worst people in the world. And Tyler Perry blackballs men for not sleeping with him. So stop. So these guys do that, and they're really petty. And Oprah's done it to many black people as well. She did it to Iyanla Van Zant before she had to get on her knees and beg her to help her with the oxygen, whatever that crap that she does, or whatever. So that's what they do. That's how they get down.
So then the question was about, and I just want to respond briefly to Keenan about Monique and her being unprofessional. Her saying no, right, and them not giving her extra money if she did go. Mm-hmm. That's extremely professional. The fact that they told her to go and wouldn't pay her is unprofessional. So her making that stance, taking that stance, was right. It wasn't immoral.
That's just one network, though. I mean, that you got to. If they don't want to work with you, I mean, move on. Go to another company. Don't just, hey, we're gonna boycott Netflix, y'all.
No, this wasn't Netflix though. This wasn't Netflix. This was what happened was they were pissed because she didn't do what they wanted. So they decided that, you know what, we're gonna stop her from earning money by telling people not to work with her. Because
now let's take that back to Steve Harvey. That adds a whole lot of context to the whole topic of, did Steve Harvey coon that situation? Like, was he a coon in that situation?
He coon that situation.
There's no argument anymore. Like, there's no argument at all about his motive for having Monique on that show and him saying what he said. There's no argument.
Because what he basically said, what he basically said was, when she called them out. See, they're not used to getting called out. They've done this to many people before, and they don't say nothing because they're afraid because of their status in the industry. And she did something that people don't do, is she actually made, like, this is what's happening to me. And other people know what she's talking about, but they're so afraid that they're not going to say nothing. And what he's basically saying is, you can't do it like that. You can't tell the truth. You gotta, you gotta play the game, and you gotta get on your knees and all of that stuff. Because what she was supposed to do is,
all them other people were playing the game, and they're still not doing anything.
We see that shit in the Colin Kaepernick shit. This nigga taking a knee for the cause, for a real cause. All the black players should have did it, and everybody. Like
But
no,
about-
they like no. At the end of the day, they was like no. I feel you. I respect you. I hear what you're talking about. But I got a job. I got a family. I can't take a knee this week.
But that's how. The 1% can count on that.
I know,
That's something
yeah.
they put their money on. We can do whatever we want because we know that not everybody's going to get behind them. If all of the middle class got up and said, you know what, we're done, right? The 1% would explode. But the reason why they keep doing, the rich people, the wealthy keep doing what they're doing, because they know. We can mistreat this one. Not everybody else is going to mess up their own livelihood to get behind it. Right?
And in a way, that's why I have a lot of respect for Monique, because I wasn't a fan of hers really before all of this. I mean, I'm not a fan of her comedy really, or really her. I didn't really care too much for her before this, and then I respect the hell out of what she's doing, because nobody has the balls to do it. But I know personally cases of people who got the same treatment, and men as well, and they didn't do it. They didn't have the balls to call them out. That's why they were so shocked, clutching their pearls, because nobody does it.
Just look at Cat Williams, though. You know what I mean? You can't say that he don't speak the truth in his comedy, but his character is not aligned with the stuff he's saying. So can we take you seriously?
Yeah, why not? Though I take what he's saying very seriously. He be telling it. He tells the truth, like a lot of people don't do. I remember.
But at least you can say, Kente, before you go on, I don't mean to cut you off. You can at least say, I'm not that role model. You know, don't look up to me because I'm not that type of guy. But if you can listen to my special, you can listen to what I'm saying, you might learn a little something from a different perspective.
I think what's going on now is actually a case of like the individual versus community.
Oh shoot! Hold on.
Because
I'll be right back.
Yeah, definitely, because I think that see, Monique, she the individual, and honestly, in all honesty, like Oprah and them guys, they don't owe anything to Monique, like because they've worked to get where they are, and so if they choose not to work with Monique, that's their own choosing. Now, as far as a community, that mindset, it could be very detrimental to us.
But this is that era where we want to support black businesses. Exactly. We support everybody that's black, black, pro-black.
It's needed.
But you want to stay in your lane and don't want to ruin your own reputation from what you built. Oprah, shit, she had to fucking deal with a lot of shit. You know what I mean? Ain't nobody. She wasn't crying out to everybody like that.
And she, that's the thing. So her respectability politics that she had to play to get to where she's at is saying that we're in a different era now. Now that what I think what we're realizing is that us as a community, we basically we have there's a huge disparity amongst ourselves. There's a huge separation. So that gap, it keeps widening up. So there's two things that at play. Yes, they do not owe anything to Monique. Fair enough. But as far as a community, I think when
it could have made a big difference.
It could have made a big difference.
What is Monique teaching? What is Monique? What is so important in Monique's comedy or in her character that's going to teach the black community anything? What is she going to? I'll tell you. Where is she going to grow?
I'll tell you. It's about individuality. So to be the individual, because we're all basically we're all different people, different folks, different strokes. So whatever her personality that she has, she brings, she's bringing it to black culture. Because now when you look at white society, you have a lot of fools that basically do a lot of stupid things, and they get money and they get paid. So us as we're trying to build Wakanda, there's different folks, different strokes. So it's her brand of comedy, like there are people that I don't like, but that may like her style. And so it's like
we don't want to suppress that.
Exactly. It's like we don't really want to suppress that part of like, you know, like our uprising. Like we want to create space for like us. So as long as we get there and there's an us, that's what, you know, like that's cool.
And when we do that, you know, my pedigree is better than your pedigree kind of conversation, we will not get there because we're too busy trying to judge each other based on where we are in proximity to whiteness and colonization.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I can't deal with it. It gets me really
that's the whole thing about celebrities and their influence on social media these days. You get to see so much from their personal lives, and you're like, oh, this is what goddamn Snoop Dogg ate for breakfast, and you know, you just like you get the whole 24 hours from them. I'm just saying though, like when it comes to our community, again, these were our kids was being raised off. And Shannon said a comment, you don't want to be a friend with your kid, but actually you kind of, that's the only way to.
Yeah, there's like a whole compromise that has to happen because I know, like, I now know that my 17-year-old smokes weed. And it's kind of like, man, especially here in Canada where they've now legalized it. So he's hard pressed for me to hear the whole, you know, you should wait. It's not good for you. Why would something that's not good for you be legal? Like he's not stupid. He's talking to me about how he feels about the situation. And it's not that I want to be his friend and smoke with him, but at the same time, I have to be able to set boundaries without making him feel bad for where he is.
They're not going to tell you if they're not comfortable.
Yeah.
How I started smoking weed, when I started smoking weed, you know, how much weed I smoked. Like, you're not going to get those answers.
Yeah, well, luckily he doesn't hide it really. We can tell that he's pretty much always weeded out. So
he's like shutting down. He's shutting down their I ain't say enthusiasm for weed. It's just why you like it. Why you doing it? Like, are you gonna just be a pothead for the rest of your life now, or is this a temporary phase that you're going through just to figure it out?
Yeah. So that's what you just offered. I wish there were like 10 people in here to get that message because that was so key what you just said. No, but we're gonna repost it for sure. But that's why I would like these conversations to keep going. But when I have to call an elephant out in a room and people don't like it, I don't know. That it can't. This conversation, it can't work that way if people are gonna, be in their feelings about what people say.
I'm not always political. I'm never. Matter of fact, I'm never politically correct. I embrace that. I want to be the unorthodox person that comes in and say whatever that's on my mind on anything. But you gotta just. Everybody's so set to be that perfect person for society. Or I'm that role model you can look up to. I'm the. We said this. Last week. Everybody's the next Malcolm X because it takes everybody to have that mentality to go forward and come at these issues like that. I'm not talking about peaceful protesting. I'm not talking about making the right situation for everybody to relate to. And on a social media rant, it's just you gotta live that shit.
And that's the elephant in the room right there in regards to like the Monique and Tyler Perry and like that situation. Like what she's doing is like she's not being politically correct. Like she's basically kind of standing up for her voice. And so like I agree with what you're saying in that regard. You feel me? So like that's where it's like on the same level. Like when she stands up, it's like yeah, that's dope. However, though, it's like there's like two sides. There's like the self accountability. And also accountability for like the community aspect of it. So it's like,
yeah, definitely.
There's steps to it. Like what I'm noticing, in my opinion, anyways. Like so, first, as a community, I think that we cannot afford to shut like others out. Like though, like individuality is very important. So so in this case, that means what I'm trying to say is yes, Tyler Perry and those three. Like they kind of basically like have to support like Monique or include her, in my opinion. And once
they can even teach her
exactly.
like pull the sister aside and show her how to be how to be better than if people are going to judge her based on how she acts in that sphere. Teach her something, give her insight, make her think that you care for her enough to share this with you. You know,
saying, but is she a role model?
Boom.
Yeah.
Is she somebody that you can look at, your kids can watch and say, I learned something from, or I want to be like her when I grow up?
Yes, exactly. I just want to touch on what Shannon said earlier. She said, we don't have the power of the movement, only the power of the influence. We still don't understand the true power in either.
And who's embracing the influence? It's the kids. They soaking all this stuff in. People, you know, our age, 30, 40 and up, we just like shaking our head at the kids. Why are you doing like this? Why are you on the phone all the time? Why are you, you know, why you don't go outside and play like we used to? No, it's not like that no more.
It's a new era.
It is a new era. So what are some ways that we can engage them? What is a different way? If we're not asking them, you know, why are you on that phone and what are you always doing and etc. What can we do or say? Yeah,
like I wondered, what is some advice, Dre? Because like you're a father of four, at the teacher and the father as well, right? Like so, like and it seems like you have a very open and good relationship with your sons. Like going by your vlog, like what are some things that you use to basically engage them? What's your approach?
A belt and no, I said a belt, but that was a joke.
Oh. I thought that's what you said.
I use open communication and I create identity. So we have an identity, and with my kids, I teach them that being a Harrison is more than just a last name. So
I would teach my daughter the expectations for my experiences.
Takes what?
The expectations from outside looking in, how people look at you, what people are gonna say about you. Oh, can I touch your hair? You know, I mean, no. Just, you know, this is different aspects in our life these days. Is we have to really show them through experience and really tell them something they can understand. What's the problem of being online so long? What's the problem of not doing this? You're doing this too much, so you're not getting this. Read a book besides being on the internet. The internet don't have.
Yo, Keenan would be one of those dads to give you some serious licks. He does not play. But sorry, Dre, you were saying.
Yeah. So
I mean, they just want shortcuts. They want shortcuts. No, we're not giving them that. We're gonna. You can't find all the answers on Google in life. You can't look up how to be happy.
Hey, Stephanie.
Google.
Yeah.
We're getting taught. Go ahead, Dre.
Yeah. So and with all that, I try to teach my kids to be sort of like free thinkers, right? I want them to think about everything and don't formulate opinions before you get a chance to think it through, and really get into it. So like even with my youngest son, him and I have some very deep conversations. He's very deep, and I make sure that we keep the lines of communication open. I don't want my kids to be afraid to say anything to me, but at the same time, I'm not quick to challenge their thinking in the sense that I'm like, I'm your father. You're gonna do what I say, and you're gonna be who I want you to be. I'm the type that, all right, let's talk this out. If I don't agree. Right, because if I don't agree, I don't agree. But I'm not going to force that on them. Let's talk this out, And if they come to me with logic, even if I don't agree, I got to be able to be like, it makes sense. It's not for me, but it may be for you. Even my son Gabriel, him and I talked about the whole situation with Steve Harvey because they talk about it in the school. My son goes to a school called Eagle Academy. I'm not sure if you've heard of it. It's the only black-run all-male school in New York City. The New York City School District has allowed this outside agency called Eagle Academy to have New York City public schools that are all male, right? And the most of the leaders, if not all of the leaders, are African American or black, and not just black males, but black women as well. And they have deep conversations, and they've had a conversation about Steve Harvey and Monique in the school. in particular. So they have a lot of deep conversations about identity, about race, about community, about all that stuff. So my son, especially my youngest son, he's growing up in that self-awareness atmosphere where he's knowing who he is and developing his own idea, and not just coming up with ideas, because a lot of people go around just start saying things and it doesn't really make sense. And after a while, they start, showing how hypocritical their thinking is. So it's the coon game. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So with my sons, I encourage open communication, and in the process, having them think deeply about whatever it is that they're saying, and coming up with ideas logically, strategically. Yeah.
Sorry, we're here we're taking it what you're saying. We're taking it to other levels.
But no, it's like the reason why I asked on an individual level as well is because I believe that once an individual has a certain plan as to how the environment should be, that's what basically leads to the greater community. So, for example, you mentioned the identity and what it means to be a Harrison and everything. So I think that us as a community, it's about basically finding your tribe, because within ourselves, there's so many different divergent views that what we're trying to do is so hard, because before our ancestors got here, there were different tribes that were all banded together. So there were different beliefs and ways of living that were existent before we got here. So now we're trying to recreate, they forced us into a situation where we have to recreate, I guess, a new narrative with a new set of people. And I think that's where we're finding our blocks, because, hey, certain values that I have may not be what the next, African-American or African looking person has. And we're trying to come together and create this space and, move from there. So it's I really like that on the individual level, is knowing what you want, finding your tribe, and expanding and, setting your values and goals, and then, expand from there. And somehow we still got to find a place to kind of link them, just like how Caucasians they've done. Because if you look at this society and the one that we're enslaved in, there's so many different avenues for Caucasianhood. There's basically they have they're straight, they're gays, all the sexual avenues. They have their educational system, different type of schools. They have so entertainment and everything. So us as well as a people, I think we got to really recognize that the human aspect of ourselves. And I think that's what when they cast that spell of blackness, they basically have we lack that identity. We lack who we are as people, and yeah, that's something that I kind of wanted to bring at the point.
I'm trying to follow what they're talking about. Now who's married to that gold digger? Who are we talking about?
Steve Harvey?
Who?
Talking about Marjorie? Steve wife?
Yeah.
Steve wife? Who's that?
His wife. Steve Harvey's wife.
Oh, Steve Harvey's wife.
Does she swing on the branches with him for the $10 million?
No, she has her own land.
I don't even know much about his wife.
What does she do? What did Shannon say?
No, I just said she's pretty. She has something I think in fashion, maybe?
I've seen her IG before. She does a lot of lifestyle stuff. But I don't know what it is.
Yeah, she was married to some dope dealers, yeah.
She was? Oh, so what? Maybe she taught him about the money game.
Wait a minute, wait a minute, whose cousin? He married his cousin?
Wait, whoa.
Wait, we're talking about elephants in the room.
I'm lost, Steph. What do you mean?
The two dope dealers she married were cousins?
Oh, so she was married to two guys who were cousins. Okay.
Oh, wow.
She was married to two guys who were cousins?
Yeah. No, it's
they're cousins.
It's like if you were married to Boogie, then you got divorced and you married his cousin.
Oh wow, yo, that's what I think they call savage. In my day, we have a word for it. It's called savage. She's a savage.
She's a savage.
Savage.
And also, there's this thing where Steve Harvey left his ex-wife and really left her with nothing. To the she went through depression and was in and out of psych hospitals because of what he was putting her through.
Yo, this guy, he has a really bad rep as a person, Steve Harvey. Because
the comedian we know out here.
Yeah. You got somebody out there that's willing to be successful and willing to do whatever it takes and connect with whoever he can and dismiss whoever he can to get there. A good example of this is when he moved from Chicago to L.A. and told all his staff in Chicago, "All right, I'm moving. It's been real, y'all."
He told his wife, his ex-wife, that he said, "This ain't the love game. It's the money game."
That's hard though, but that goes back to who's your identity in.
Yo,
it's true.
That's so crazy because even a comedian that we know out here, he's known, he's fairly known in the country. He was just telling us about his interaction with Steve, right?
Yeah. Jay Martin.
Jeez,
Corey Holcomb be filleting him.
But listen, Shannon, if he calls you to get on his show, you better go. Steve Harvey, because if he calls me, I'm going to. I don't care.
Money game.
If he called me, I'd be like, "Where Ashton at?" Because I feel like I'm being punked right now. What's going on?
At the end of the day, you're going to come to a fork in the road, and it's going to be the money game lane or the integrity lane.
I would never lose my integrity if I was on the show. That ain't got nothing to do with it.
No, let him lose his integrity. I'm using him. Get me on the show. I'm going to expose my what I'm doing to everybody else. Nope, I'm going. Andre, Father's Day's coming up. We want to talk about your book. I'll be there.
Right?
Talk to me about love.
I'm not mad at you. I'm not mad at you at all.
No, that wouldn't be losing your integrity. Khalid Muhammad went on Donahue.
So. What's going on?
What? His mouth is too juicy. What?
Whoa!
Explain, Stephanie.
Elephants in the room right there. What's going on?
He is the mouth of the South. Don't do him like that.
What are we talking about?
I hope it's...
She's still talking about Steve Harvey.
Talking about you?
Steve
Harvey's got a juicy mouth? Word?
He said he got big words.
No, that's actually pretty hilarious because to kind of bring it back again to the main topic. So Steve, and you mentioned a good point there, Dre, when you talk about a person who's basically money hungry and they're willing to do whatever it takes. A person like that is very dangerous to our cause as a people because he reminds me of that scene where it's like, oh no, you can't tell Massa this. You want to be free. Yeah. That guy who was talking to Kunta Kinte about, how he got to behave and everything. And when you look at our history, I was saying last time too, the Nat Turners and all these other great people that wanted to emancipate our people, they got blocked by folks like Steve Harvey that's willing to do any and everything for the dollar or for comfort or
butter biscuits.
It reminds me of Haiti, right? What if Steve Harvey was there at the time from Haiti? Because you realize every Western country, every Western civilized country put their boot on Haiti because they were the first country in this hemisphere that emancipated themselves from slavery.
But do you know how they did it, though? Because the first step was they murdered coons. They had they murdered coons. They had a poisoning. They actually systematically poisoned off as many coons as possible before they started their revolution. That was the first step, and that's how they were able to do it.
Wow, that's crazy.
Let's look at different countries.
Ask facts. He'll tell you.
Let's look at different countries. Even to this day, the United States is sending troops and resources to countries that to rebels that want to overthrow governments and countries, right? That's big. That's what they say is being oppressive, like people government that's oppressing the people. So they're looking to help the rebels from being you know what I'm talking about. All right.
Yeah.
Haiti was tired of their oppressors. They did what they needed to do to get to a place where they can fight back, and that's probably eliminate those snitches out there. and they, till this day, are considered cursed because they were the first ones to emancipate themselves, and they should be the first ones celebrated. When we talk about Black history, that's what we should be talking about. Now, what if Steve Harvey was there back then? He would have been like, "Hey guys, chill, stop." Right? It's about the money game. Let's not.
It's the butter biscuit game.
These are the guys on my shirt, right? The people, they were in the Olympics, 68. Yeah. They lost so many, and nobody knows about the poor little white guy next to them. That he actually did stand with them, but he lost out too.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And that's why she's like, so not for me. That's why, like I keep saying, like when that conversation, like like people that are like that, they scare me because like I can't trust people who are basically willing to do anything for the dollar. Because,
they're traitors.
Yeah,
they're traitors, straight.
And like when Dre, you talk about Haiti not basically not being celebrated, it's almost in a sense because they took those first few steps and there's no support like from like other places and stuff. We've all kind of halfway emancipated, like we're hot, we're cold, now we're going for it, we're not. Like Haiti is in a situation where they're in right now because there have not been other like places that have kind of continued that rebellion, that stronghold.
And also, all of the Caribbean and Africa and what other country has the majority Black people, the unholy trinity of not supporting Haiti.
No, for real.
We're like,
for real.
we're not standing up for them either.
Yeah. Yep.
That's how it worked on a political level.
And that's the mindset. Like that's when Harriet Tubman, her quote, when she says, "I've freed hundreds of slaves, and I could have freed like 1,000 more if only like what their minds were liberated from like that." Yeah, that's exactly like what that is.
Oh, that is really sad. This is a sad note to end on.
No, it's the truth.
Hey, you're gonna get us flagged.
Yeah, right there.
That would be a dream come true if I ended up on that list.
That NWA list.
I'd be like, I made it. I made it.
I'm gonna knock on the door, FBI.
Sorry, they already at your door. Believe that.
We are so grateful that you guys are here. As always, Shannon, Dre, So Steph, we always see you. Keenan, thank you for being here. Kinte, thank you for holding us down. You don't have to leave here, but we got to get offline.
Stop the podcast.
But you can stay in the after party because we'll probably have a much richer conversation at that point.
You guys should like join in, so next time y'all could partake in this after conversations and after parties.
The after party.
No
R. Kelly. No remix.
No R. Kelly there. It's a safe space.
It's a safe space. All right, peace.